I am a born hype girl. I have not a competitive bone in my body. I just want to give it up for all the hype girls and guys in this room, backstage, upstairs, all around this whole hotel, and especially Miss Sarah Swain. So. I figured I had a microphone. I wanted to do that. At 35 weeks pregnant, I sat on my couch at 2 a.m. eating toast, watching Netflix, waiting for a sign to convince me to call my midwife. See, an hour earlier, I had woke up thinking that I had peed. Anything was possible at this point in pregnancy. And I struggled to believe that it was my water breaking because it was A, not like the movies, and B, what was B again? Oh, I knew I needed my notes. I need a hype, please. Thank you.
I've listened to it a few times.
I was still a month away from my due date. So I just needed a sign to convince me like what to do next. But by 3:30 a.m., I was antsy. So I woke my husband. I said, Ben, I might have peed or my water might have broken and I'm not sure which, so I'm gonna call the midwife. The midwife was already at the hospital, so she asked us to come in. At 4:51 a.m., as we walked into the hospital, I had my first sign, a slight cramp. I would come to learn that my daughter would be just like this outside the womb, quietly waiting until she is ready. Things moved fast after that. She was on the outside by 8 a.m. and she was a good size, but she needed some oxygen. So after a brief snuggle, they whisked her off to the neonatal intensive care unit. My adrenaline was high at this point because I was grateful to be through that part of the pregnancy journey. I was glad she was okay. And I felt like a superstar because I just pushed a human out of my body. I knew this crowd would feel that. But I also felt embarrassed because I didn't know what to do next. I sat alone in my hospital bed, eating a croissant, having never been a mother, never given birth, and I didn't know what it meant to stay in the NICU. I was relieved when my midwife came in and she said, baby is good, Ben's with her, she's on some oxygen. Before you go see her, let's make sure that you're good. So she went through the checklist, like colostrum, hand expressing, how to use a pump, the importance of stool softeners. She checked my stitches, my uterus. She helped me get into my adult diaper. And then we walked down the hall. I had my IV bag behind me. We got to those locked doors at the NICU, and I picked up the phone off the wall, and I asked to see my daughter. My daughter. I had never said those words before, and I nearly choked on them. I felt like I was saying this secret password to try and get into a secret club, and I didn't know if I would be allowed in if I didn't say it right or do it right. But the doors opened, I went in, signed in, and they guided me to my baby. However, even then she was hooked up to so many wires, I didn't know how to pick her up or if I was even allowed to. I felt so inadequate. Marley, my daughter, she struggled to eat. So she struggled to latch, to suck, to swallow, so they inserted a feeding tube. But they strongly encourage breast milk and breastfeeding. So they put me on this 3-hour cycle. I would try to get her to latch, then I would go back to my room to pump, then I would eat something, and then I would go for some skin to skin with her. So it's try to latch, pump, eat, snuggle. Try to latch, pump, eat, snuggle. Try to latch, pump, eat, snuggle, over and over every 3 hours. I was consumed but committed to this 3-hour cycle. At 5:50 a.m., my alarm went off. This was just over 48 hours since we first arrived at the hospital. I got up, wedged my feet into my swollen feet. They were very swollen, I remember that vividly. Wedged them into sandals, grabbed my water, and I headed to the shared washroom. I looked at my clock. 5:54 a.m. Perfect timing. But as I sat down, my bowels started to turn. And I sat there dreading this moment, barely breathing, silently praying that those stool softeners would do their job. The first postpartum poop is no joke. I also knew you would understand what that meant. My midwife wanted to know when this happened. I was grateful it was over. But as I exited the washroom, I looked at my phone and it was 6:01 a.m. And I was late for the start of the next cycle. I looked over to Marley's section and I couldn't see the nurse's legs under the curtain, so I was relieved, walked over, opened it up, and there was my little baby, sound asleep, getting her 6 a.m. feed. And I was crushed. "Oh, hi," the nurse sauntered in and said. "I thought you were just staying sleeping. I started her feed. You can go back to bed and get some rest." I stood there, staring at my little baby, unable to say, "I'm a good mom. I have shown up every time for this cycle. I was here. I set my alarm. I was awake. I just had to poop." Instead, I just said, "Okay." And I walked back to my room, barely holding it together. As soon as the door closed, my embarrassments, my inadequacies, my fears of being a good enough mother just erupted. And I let myself cry. Then I got back into that cycle. My cheeks were still damp with tears. But I was determined, so I hooked myself up to the pump and I pulled out my phone. Hours earlier, I had posted a picture of Marley and all the tubes, the feeding tube, or the wires, the feeding tube, the incubator balls hanging in the kitchen. I explained that she had arrived a month early and that despite being a good size, she needed some time in the NICU. The mamas showed up. My phone was filled with messages of encouragement and support. I had friends, acquaintances, friends of friends, connecting their NICU experience with my own. They were encouraging me, supporting me. I felt seen. These weren't memes or reels or group forums. These were real moms sharing real lived experiences and connecting to my own. And that was when my vision was born. For 5.5 years now. 5.5 years. That's my daughter's whole lifetime. I have been sitting with this vision in my heart to bring people, women, mothers together to share their stories. Events like this with a supportive audience, with good food and entertainment, but where we can connect in real life and bond over the things we have in common, the struggles of motherhood, those hard first days, the hard 5 years later, I don't know how many days that is, where we can connect. And I keep getting nudged over and over again. And as I watch my own mother progress through a Parkinson's diagnosis, I'm nudged to just capture her, to have her voice and her stories preserved for me and my children. Another nudge came a couple months ago when many of you, Mama Bears, shared your stories of escape and protection with me when I shared about my secret attic hideaway that I would go to if they ever came for me in those darker days. And then this past summer, just out to dinner with some mom friends, sharing stories and tears as we navigate children, adoption, divorce, intimacy, and love. These are the things that bring us together. So I left the teaching career a number of years ago and started my personal training business. And it was an easy, and it was a lot of work, but it was an easy jump for me because I loved fitness. But I've never really had the passion for it that I wanted. So I am stepping into a path that is vast, unknown, and scary, but it's heart-led, and it's aligned. And it's been a long summer of self-doubt, self-sabotage, paralysis, and fear as I've been trying to get clear on this until I admitted it to myself that this is what I truly wanted to do. And I'm so grateful for the MYM community, because I know you will all be there, being my hype girls and guys, supporting me as I birth this new business baby into the world. Thank you.